Hello and welcome back everyone to another YouTube video. In today's video, we will build the second project in our series, and this project is going to be a game which is Tic Tac Toe. I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with this game. So the game will be as follows. So there is a board, and we are going to ask each player for a position. So let's start with player X. So let's, for example, choose position 5, and as you can see, it will be replaced by an X, and the same will happen for the player O, or the second player. So let's choose 1, and as you can see, 1 is replaced by O, and so on. But let's actually complete the game. So let's make player X win. So let's choose 2, and let me choose 3, and if I choose the position 8, player X should win. But before that, I want to show you something. What if a player chooses a position that's already taken? So for example, if player X wants to play on position A, so yeah, we want to print a message that this position is not valid and ask the player for another position. Okay, so now let's win, and the player X wins. So yeah, that's the game, and let's start coding. So as we did before, let's break our code into some points. So the first thing we want to do is to display the board, and the second thing would be uh, player turns, and the third maybe check if position is valid, and the game winning condition, and also if draw, because as you know, we can draw in this game, unlike two squares, a game that we built in the previous video. So let's start with displaying the board. So unlike the previous video, we will not make our board a variable two-dimensional arrays. We will just uh, make it a string. So board equals and a string, and let me copy it from here and paste it, and yeah, that's the board. We are going to make the first row, which is going to be 1, 2, and 3 separated by this bar, and then the new line character, because otherwise everything will be printed in the same line, and that will not look nice at all. So after making a new line after the first row, we will put the second row, which is 4, 5, and 6, and so on. So that's the board. And before moving on to the player turns, let's actually make a function to display the board. Okay, and simply print the board. So that's it for the board. So let's move on to the player turns. And let's make our first function, which is player 1, or let's actually call it player X turn. Okay, I misclicked. And let's do the same for player O turn. Okay, again I misclicked. So yeah, let's think about what we want to do in these functions. So if it's player X turn, we want to ask the player X to choose a position. So that's the first thing we can do. So let's make a variable called position and input. And what next? So yeah, the player chose a position. So we need to check if this position is valid, and if that's the case, we want to update the board or change this position to X. So let's make an if condition and say if is valid, and this function that we will make after the player turns will take a parameter which is the position. So if it's valid, we want to change the board. So unlike our previous project, we will not make a function for changing the board because here it can be much simpler. We will just replace this position with X, and luckily the string has a method called replace that will help us do this. So let's board is going to be equal board dot replace, and let's replace the position with X, and after that let's display the board. Okay, we are not done yet because what if the position is not valid? We need to tell the player that this position is not valid and ask him again for the position. So let's actually call the player X function again, and this whole process will uh, evaluate again. So let's copy and paste the same for player O and change some variables. Here it should be O, and here should be O, and I think, yeah, this in the message. So I think that's ready. Yeah, but actually we'll get an error here, but I will leave it for after. So yeah, we'll just ignore it for now. So yeah, the player turns functions are done. So let's move on to the checking if valid. So let's define the function is valid, and it will take a parameter which is the position. And let's think about a way to check if a position is valid. So let's actually go up here and look at our board. So I think a way we can do is check every character in this string and make sure that the position that the user chose is not equal to X or O. And this way we will check if it's valid or not, because if it's not equal to X and it's not equal to O, this means it's a valid position. It's 1 or 2 or 3 and so on. But a problem you may have noticed is that we're going to check even this bar character and the new line. So a problem appears here. So it can be fixed in two ways. So the first way I'm thinking of is to also add the condition that uh, the position is not equal to this bar character, and the same for the new line character. So let's move here and show you what I mean by that. So first let's make a for loop to go through every character in our string. So for I in the board, we are going to check if the position, so if the position is not equal to x and the position is not equal to O, and we have to make two and other conditions for the bar character and the new line character. Actually, I'm very wrong here. That's that's really not the way to check if it's valid. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, we only need to check if this position is equal to a position in our string. So what I mean by that, if the user chose 1, we will go through this board and see if 1 is actually in our board. So yeah, I think that's the correct way. And if you're thinking that it will always be valid because the numbers here uh, will be here forever, it's not. This is not the case because here we changed the position to x. So for example, if player x chooses the position 1, this will actually be x, and the next time, or when it's player's O turn, and if he, for example, chose 1, the for loop will go through each character in the string, and it will not see 1 in the string. So this is going to return false, and that means that the position is not valid. So let's get back to the function, and let's make it the right way this time. So for I in board, for every character in our board, let's see if the position is equal to any character in the board. So if position is equal to the character, let's return true, and otherwise return false. So this will evaluate after checking every character in the string. So yeah, but the thing is, we are going to go through each character in the string. So we are going to check for these bar characters and the new line character. So that's actually not the best way, because why check these characters? You only need to check for the positions. So let's actually make another variable called board positions, and let's make this as an array, and here we will store the positions of the board positions. I know it's confusing, but let me show you something here. But first, let me tell you what I mean by that. So the position of this character in this string is 1 because we start from 0. So this is uh, 0 position, this is the 1 position, and so on. This is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, and so on. So what if we store these positions in an array and iterate over only these positions? Okay, I will show you in a second what I mean by that. Okay, to explain my point, I will make comments here. So let's write the positions of the first row. So the position of this character is 1. The position of this character is 3. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this character is 5. And the second row, okay, this was 5, so that's 6, that's 7, that's 8, and that's 9. 9, and we will add 2, 11, and 13. So that's 13. So 14, 15, 16, and that's 17, 19, and 21. By the way, before going on or before explaining this part, we actually don't need to make this step. It will work fine if we ignore these stuff. But I think it will be better if we just compare the positions, not the whole string. So yeah, that's the positions of the board positions in the string. I hope that it's clear now. So yeah, let's store these numbers here. And 17, 19, 21. And let's get to the isValid function again. But this time, let's make some modifications. So for I in board positions, and this will make the I, which is the iterator. The first iteration will be 1. I will be equal to 1. The second iteration, I will be equal to 3, 5, 9, and so on. So why is this helpful? Because now we will check if the position is equal to the board I. So yeah, I think now it's clear, because now I or the board will only or the for loop will only look at the positions. So when the first iteration begins and I is equal to 1, so that's board 1. What is board 1? It is the first position, or the position 1 in the board. The second iteration I will be equal to 3. Board 3 is the character 2, which is the position 2 in the board, and so on. So this way we will ignore the bar characters and the new line character. We will only check for these positions. And as I said before, we don't actually need to do this step, but I think it's more uh, efficient. Yeah, so that's the checking if the position is valid. Now let's move on to the game winning condition. And actually this will help us in the game winning condition, and you will see how in a second. But actually let's run the game for now and see if everything is working, but I'm pretty sure you'll get an error because of this line here. But yeah, let's see. First, let's display the board. Let's make a while loop. And let's start with player X turn. And okay. Oh, okay. We actually need to. Oh no, never mind. Okay. After player X turn, let's just call the player O turn. I wanted to add the conditions if the game is won, but I remembered that we haven't done this step yet. So let's keep it like that. Let's actually uh, not make an infinite while loop. So let's add a condition. So while n is more than 3 and n okay, n is equals to 5. So it should iterate 2 times. This should be 1, sorry. Okay, let's see if it's going to work. So yeah, player X choose a position. Let's see 5. Yeah, and that's the error I'm talking about, unbound local error. So let's actually fix this error right now. So the reason we are getting this error because it's uh, about the scope of the variable. So the way to fix this is to global the board, because this way we are actually making a new variable. So when we say global board, this means that we are using this global variable here. So let's actually do the same for player O. Okay, let's try again. 5, and now it's working. Let's make player O choose another position. 1. Okay, let's see if our check valid function is working. So let's pick 5 again, and as you can see, position not valid. Player X chose a position. Let's choose 2, and yeah, let's see if player 1 chose a wrong position. Okay, it will also print a message and ask us for another position. So yeah, we don't need to go on because we will actually not uh, complete the game because we haven't done these functions yet. Okay, so the game winning condition. Let's make a function for that and let's call it game 1, anything. We will actually make a lot of conditions for this, but let's actually look at the board. Okay, I can see it from here. Okay, let's run the program again. Uh, uh, uh. Okay, so yeah, that's the board. So let's think about the conditions that a game is won. So if this row is all X or O, and the same for these two rows, and the same for the columns, this first column, the second column, and third column, and the diagonals. So 1, 5, and 9, 3, 5, and 7. So these are the only way that a game is won. So for that we will make an if condition for each uh, game winning condition. So let's start with the rows. So if, and by the way, we'll just check if these positions are equal to each other. We don't need to check if it's X or O because we really don't care, because here we will call this function twice for each turn. So yeah, let's see if board and the position of this in the string is 1, and that's why I said this will be helpful. So if we move this down here, okay, we can see the positions. So if board 1 is equal to board 3, I'm seeing the positions from here, the first row, and equal to board 5. So that's the first uh, condition, or the first game winning condition, if the first row is equal to each other. Let's see. We will actually make the whole thing in one if condition, so it will be very big. Okay, so let's move on to the second row. So if board, and let's take the positions from here. So if board 9, position 9 is equal to board in the position 11 and so on. And I will do the same for the third row and the columns and the diagonals, but I will pause for a second because no need to see the same process over and over again. So give me a second here. Welcome back. So yeah, that's the whole thing. So that's the first row, 1, 3, and 5. That's the second row, 9, 11, and 13. That's the third row, 17, 19, and 21. Moving on to the columns, 1, 9, and 17, 3, 11, and 19, 5, 13, and 21, and the diagonals 1, 11, 21, and 5, 11, 17. And yeah, so if either of these conditions are true, let's return true. That means that someone won the game. Otherwise, we return false. And that's it. I don't think the indentation is correct here. So yeah, that's okay, that's right here. So let's make our final function, and it's going to be the draw, checking if it's a draw. So when are we going to be in the state of a draw? So if all the positions are taken and the game is not won, this means that we have a draw. Makes sense, right? So let's make this function. And we are going to make a for loop and check if every position here is either equals to x or o. And we are going to use the same logic here, which is only iterating over the positions. So for I in board positions, we're going to get the positions of uh, the board positions. I know it's weird to say it this way. And let's see if uh, board I is not equal to x and board I is not equal to O, we will return false. And otherwise, let's return true. And let me explain this one more time. Uh, Here we are assigning I to the positions of the board positions here according to the string. I explained it earlier, but I just want to make sure it's clear. So yeah, where is the function? Okay, if the board I, so let's start with the first iteration, and I is going to be equal to 1. So if this position is not equal to x and it's not equal to O, this means that there's still a position that a player can play or choose. So we will return false. This means that it's not a draw. And otherwise we'll return true, because if we iterate over every position here and see that uh, it's actually equal to x or o, this means that there is no positions left to play and it's a draw. So yeah, and that's it. We will need to just modify this while loop. Okay, remove this and add some conditions here. So player X plays his turn, so let's check if he won the game. So if game won, we will going to print that player X wins and break after that, and else if is draw. we also need to check if it's a draw. We will print draw, and we will also break. And the same goes for the player O. So let's copy this and paste it here and change this to O. And yeah, that's it. And hopefully we are done here. So let's run our program once more time. Player. Okay, let's play the game. So player X, and it's valid. Okay, we have a problem here. Player X wins. So before even the second turn, player X wins. So why this happened? Okay, let's add the parentheses here. And I think that was the problem, but let's run again and see. Player X, 5. Yeah, that was the problem. So let's complete the game this time. Player O, 1. And the same for player. Okay, I didn't modify it for the player O. My bad. Yeah, hopefully this is the last time we run into a problem. Okay, 5, 1, finally, 3, 7. Let's pick a position that's not valid. 1, for example. Position not valid. Okay, again. Okay, great. That's 4. Let's make. Let's actually make player X win the game, and we will run the program again and see what happens if we run into a draw. Player X, position 6, and the player X wins. So let's run this once more time. 5, 1, 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, no, 4, oh, okay, yeah, 4, 6, and 9. So as you can see, no one wins here. So yeah, it's a draw. And yeah, that's it. Finally, that's the end of today's video. We made another project here, which is also a game. But let me know down in the comments if you want a specific project, if you want a specific game, and so on. I will be glad to uh, get some suggestions from you. And yeah, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.